And just like that, we're up to chapter 3. So yeah, season 2, episode 3 of And Just Like That. It's actually called chapter 3. It doesn't seem to have an episode title. But yeah, it was a kind of extreme episode in some ways. I kind of felt like things went really bad. Everyone seemed to have something going bad this episode. But yeah, so the episode kind of starts off with is her name Seema? Having her Birkin stolen. And we all know how important a Birkin is to a New York City girl, or I don't know, any girl, I guess. So she's mourning that, and Carrie's rereading the chapter of the book where she is talking about Big dying. And she's struggling to get through it to the point that she actually fakes COVID to get out of doing it. But that doesn't totally work because her producer just gets her an extra week so they can just go back to doing it. So she's basically hiding out in her house and pretending to be sick when she's not. Miranda's just running around in LA being weird. Jay's having trouble with acting and playing the role. They don't really feel that it's really them. So they set up that Miranda's having problems with her phone, and when she goes to the taping, her son calls her up and says, "Why haven't you been answering? I've been calling for days. My girlfriend broke up with me. He's alone in Paris. He's upset. He comments that a car nearly hit him and he wished it had." And so she's freaking out, and she takes her phone into the taping. Now, does she turn it off, put it on vibrate? Of course not. And oh my god, right in the middle of Jay's emotional scene when they're actually emoting and feeling it and acting, of course the phone rings, and I was like, oh my god, I had to stop the episode. It was so horrific. I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, oh, why would they do that to Miranda? Why would they do that to Jay? Why can't they just have these characters like have a nice moment and film this scene? And why did they have to do that? I didn't like it. It was like too much. And then what else is that? Oh, the MILF list, of course. Charlotte School, some hot student, put out a MILF list. They were 2 and 3, Miranda and is it Lisa? I'm forgetting the new girls' names. Yeah, so they catch the kid, and apparently he's hot. So the mums are all objectifying him in the hall, and then when the principal hears about it, because they're actually saying, because don't you think you're being a bit too harsh on this kid? Because they're talking about like putting something on his permanent record, and people are like, you're only saying that because you're number 2 and 3 on the list, and they're like, are we? We didn't see the list. So yeah, and then they heard a report of the mothers objectifying this male student, and it was just levels of ridiculousness. And that seemed to be Charlotte's story for the episode, and she was just sort of there for everyone when they were calling. That was really it for her episode. So far as Miranda, she got back to Jay and talked to them, and they were pretty upset, and they were just sort of like, I don't get how you're this, worried about your kid. He'll be fine. It's a natural part of growing up, breaking up and that. And she's like, it's my kid. And you just don't understand that. And it's like, ooh, slap in the face, damn. So yeah, she basically flew back to New York where she could meet the kid because he's having a breakdown basically because his girlfriend broke up with him now. I don't know what kind of boy she's raising that he couldn't handle that a little better. It didn't seem that realistic when he was like crying, weeping on her shoulder. Like, I'm like, it's been a couple of days. I mean, yeah. So it did seem like a bit of an overreaction. And just before that, she was like thinking about getting a tattoo, and she actually got a tattoo just with her name, her initials MH. So she flew back. Her kid was there. Carrie went to her downstairs neighbour's jewellery show, and some guy mugged everyone. And Carrie pretended to have COVID, didn't scare him off. Seema pulled out a gun lighter, and that made him run. But it was too late. The show was ruined, and Carrie goes down to console her friend, and they both just lay in bed, just mourning. And it's just like, we have to get up eventually, but not now. And eventually Carrie gets back into the recording booth and finishes chapter 3, which was the chapter where Big dies. But she did it. And I think, like the producer said, the book really deserves the authenticity of the author reading it. And she did finish it. And then she went and had dinner with Seema, and apparently got COVID off a bunch of guys from Sydney who were there, on holiday. So the episode ends off with, and just like that, I got COVID, because apparently she hadn't had it yet. So that's that episode. It was good. I enjoyed it, but I just feel like, God, everything's going bad. People, can't we just have some fun? Why does everything have to be a disaster to be funny? Fortunately, Seema did find, is that her name? The Birkin, just dumped in the street somewhere after they took a person that she did get it back. So I guess that was the silver lining. One character had a happy ending.